is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. And today we're doing another NFL division prediction episode. We're talking about the NFC South. Last episode we did the AFC South. We've also done the AFC and NFC East. Today we're doing the NFC South, which means we'll be talking about Matt's favorite team, the Carolina Panthers. Should be a fun time, along with the Atlanta Falcons, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the New Orleans Saints. But before we get into that, a lot of big news to discuss, honestly. Most prominently, Matt's in his new studio.
It's not 100% done. I still have a lot more to do. I mean, shockingly, moving in has been really difficult. It's been really miserable. I've been really miserable. And then I made myself some really rough eggs this morning. I mean, I just used a pan too small, tried to make too many. And then it's like you get halfway through them and you're like, this sucks. And it's going to make me not want to have eggs for, a month. But I'm probably going to have eggs tomorrow anyway. I'm going to try to bounce back. I have a question for you guys, actually.
Go for it.
I'm sorry we're not talking about Biden dropping.
What?
I saw somebody a while ago say that like their fantasy football punishment was you had to eat like as many eggs as you are old in one day. Do you think you could get
as many eggs as you are old? 23 eggs? Yeah, I could eat 23 eggs in a day.
I think it'd be a challenge. I'm pretty sure I could too, though. Really, I feel like I've never heard a food challenge where I'm not like, yeah, I could get that done.
23 eggs. That's what
is it? Is it like 50 or is it 100? And you have to get miles, beers, and donuts. I don't remember if it's 50
there's
or 100.
Absolutely no way it's 100.
I think it's 50, and you have to get a combination of miles, beers, and donuts in 24 hours.
See, if I saw that like tweeted out, I'd probably quote it and be like, I've been eating 25 donuts or something like that. If you get what I'm saying. But yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
23 eggs is like 6 omelets in a day, which I think I could do.
I think omelet number 4 would be tough. I really do. I think you get egg sick pretty easily, which is interesting.
You would know.
Yeah.
I'm sick right now, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Biden dropped out of the race as well this weekend.
What?
Pretty live Matt reaction.
Yeah.
Honestly, I bet if he was, I bet if he had decided to demolish highways, he would still be in the race.
True. That was his great mistake.
That was.
He didn't want to. He didn't embrace the ever popular destroy every highway policy. And yeah, let's get into the NFC South.
You don't want to elaborate on Kamala Harris being the new Democratic nominee, or at least
I was working on maybe a joke being.
Yeah.
I was maybe working on like I thought it said Blaiden dropped out joke, but I don't know how to land it. So
yeah, I don't have anything clever either.
Hey, I'm not on the ballot, but you could always write me in. Even though I'm not 35 but like what's
and you want to destroy every highway in the country.
Man, there's just something about a good public transit system that the United States is really lacking, and I think that would solve all of our problems. But yeah, let's get in.
I'm writing in Dave Canales.
Dave Canales.
What about needs him, man? He's busy. Why don't we start on the NFC South? Why don't we start on the Panthers then?
I figured we would start on the Panthers. Matt, they're your team.
I guess my first question for you, Matt, is: do you think Dave Canales is a miracle worker?
Or no? Nope, no, I don't think he's a miracle worker. But he did a good job with Baker. So I did a particularly good job against the blitz last year, or against pressure, I mean. I think he graded out like the best in his career. So hopefully you can see some of that translate for Bryce. And I know to expect things like probably won't be under center as much as you were with Reich, and they'll probably try to be like play action heavy when they can and things like that. But it doesn't really matter if Dave Canales is a miracle worker. And he shouldn't have to be. And this is where me and Panthers fans, we got into, I don't want to say a fight, but I got quote tweeted a lot probably 2 months ago. Because I asked on Twitter, is this a make or break year for Bryce Young? And a lot of the replies and quote tweets were treating that just completely insane to say anything like that. I want to make it very clear. The Panthers traded up a ridiculous amount to get him. They gave up a ton, and it's only turned into more now with hindsight, but that's neither here nor there. Drafted him with the first overall pick. Then this offseason, they go out and they hire a coach almost exclusively because they think he'll help Bryce Young. They go out and spend big in free agency almost exclusively to help Bryce Young. And if anybody dares suggest that they possibly overpaid, that's shut down quickly because they need to do everything possible to help Bryce Young. They go into the draft and trade back up into the first round to get help for Bryce Young, and they trade up for a running back to get weapons for Bryce Young. Clearly, that was their priority. 3 of their first 4 picks were weapons for Bryce Young. Now, all of that I am perfectly fine with. I'm not rooting against Bryce Young. I have nothing against them, and I think that he can be successful. But the idea that we've put all of that in, all of those assets, all of that investment into Bryce and the supporting cast around him, and that we're walking into next season with 0 expectations for him as the first overall pick is ridiculous. That is an insane position to have. And the reality is that if we have to make excuses for a guy at the end of year 2, not a franchise quarterback. Well, franchise quarterback in the NFL right now had to have that happen for them. Second year starting. At the end of the second year, we've got to no, you don't understand. Maybe Josh Allen, but Josh Allen was good by the end of year 2, really. He had figured it out, or was clearly figuring it out, and he was a major project. Bryce Young was billed as pro ready. Now, I'm not going to blame him for last year. I think that a lot of rookies would have struggled. I think a lot of quarterbacks would have struggled in the Panthers offense. They clearly didn't have the receivers in the game, didn't have a lot of things. But we worked really hard to make that not the case this year. And there's sort of like this floating idea I've seen that, well, last year was so bad that it counts as a negative year. So this is really year 1. We have to wipe that up. No, man, come on. I think that's completely ridiculous. I think that's completely pathetic. And it's disrespectful to treat Bryce Young, who is a good football player, at least in college, and is a good prospect, like he can't be held accountable for how he plays at all. He's supposed to be a franchise-changing player. The Bears got a franchise-changing player in the trade. So I'm not even saying that I don't think he'll be successful, which I know a lot of people are going to try to take this as. I think he's got a real good shot to pull it off. There's clearly some positives in his game, and he put up some good performances, like the Packers game. Like he was
pretty brilliant. Yeah,
he's had legitimate highs, not like he showed some flashes. Like it's clear he can put it together. But I will not make any excuses for him if he doesn't. Doesn't need to be perfect. Doesn't need to be a top 5, top 10 quarterback. But if we're sitting here at the end of year 2, well, his development got so messed up year 1. I'm good. I'm not doing that. I think their offense probably will be better. I do. Their run game should be more successful. I think Brooks is a running back, an upgrade at running back. I think Johnson has his problems, but is a great separator. They badly needed somebody who can play outside, who can do that. Leggett, I know the dynasty guys are all against him because of breakout age. And I know that the breakout age trend, I'm not denying that that's the case, but you put on Leggett's tape, and I think he's a very good player. And I think he brings a level of physicality and just speed that the Panthers receivers desperately needed. And from what I saw, it seems like he has the receiver skills to pair with it. And I think their offensive line should be better as well. And the play calling should be stronger. So I think their offense will be pretty good. Their defense is probably going to suck, though. And like I've said all offseason, I've got them at like 5 wins, but like a feisty 5.
Yeah, they're going to have the worst defense in this division by a pretty wide margin, and that's really going to be the death of them. But I do think you're right, Matt. You have to have expectations for Bryce Young, and I think he's going to have a much better year than he did last year.
I think Canales has a good track record at this point. Like, we worked with Gino, turned his career around. Gino has high praise for him. The Buccaneers bring him in, and then he turns Baker's year around, and now Bryce Young is next up for that treatment. And I think Canales is going to work with it. It's going to be better. I don't know about Canales as a head coach, though. Like, maybe he is a quarterback guru. Maybe he does fix Bryce and Bryce alone. But when I look at the Buccaneers last year, like, I don't think their play calling was like particularly good. Like, their running game was the worst in football, and they ran all the time. They led the league in run, pass. And a part of the reason they made the playoffs was, like, once they got to third down, it wasn't just a screen. It wasn't just a give up play like the Panthers would do, which is good. But at the same time, it's like, okay, they were constantly in these third down situations. And so, like, is Canales going to be light the league on fire his first year as a head coach? Because all his rhetoric this offseason has been, we're going to be stubborn running it. We're going to run. And then his run game wasn't, like, good last year. It wasn't diverse. It wasn't one you study and try to steal plays from. It was just like Rashad White up the middle, lowest success rate in the league. Like, tons of bad stuff there. Like, they don't win a division that's not the NFC South, most likely, and their offense was more like fine than good. So that concerns me a little bit about Canales as a head coach hire. But I also think that could be something that becomes a bigger problem later. Like, they could probably use a little bit of boringness right now, and if he works with Young and if he cares, like, it's his first year on the job, he's probably more grateful to have it than, like, old Reich, right, who's, like, working for Tepper and probably is like, this is bullshit, like, this isn't working. Like, maybe there'll be a little bit more, like, youthful enthusiasm about this year, but I don't necessarily think Canales is, like, some genius play caller, which makes me think, like, the offense will still be a bit underwhelming, but Bryce Young could show some positives,
Yeah, I mean, overall, my view with the Panthers is, like, we keep making moves, or we spent the entire offseason making these moves specifically to help Bryce Young because we invested so much in him. And, like, I understand why. Like, I do get it, and I agree with it even. But the fact that we're in a position where, like, we need to go pay as much as we did for some interior offensive linemen because otherwise it would be a disaster. And, like, clearly, like, giving Damian Lewis a huge contract is, like, not good process. Or we're giving out contracts where, like, the first thing that fans will tell you is, like, dude, there's only, like, 2.5 years of, like, guaranteed money. So, like, it's basically like, it's like it's like, well, we don't want to be cutting them after 2 years, though, because that means that they were bad for those 2 years and we had a bad player. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're trying to be good. And so it's like, I don't know if I trust the process exactly. Or like the Johnson pick, it's like, okay, if he balls out, then do we have to pay him? And is he, like, the level of guy where you want to give him? Like, those conversations on how to best, like, maximize your cap space and how to, like, build out a good roster is, like, completely out the window because Carolina is so bad that, like, anything is good. And I can accept that for this year. I don't want to be the worst team in the NFL, and I want to see Bryce be good. But, like, having the most expensive line in the NFL and then looking at the line and being, it's good. It should be good. But it's certainly not worth what we're paying for it, obviously. And, I mean, the cheapest guy is still a top 10 pick. So I question their long-term outlook. The defense is also very bad. But, you know, I'm sure when Bryce is playing good this year and they are a feisty 5-win team, I'm going to, talk every week about are the spunky Panthers kind of undervalued this week? The line's only 11.5. Are the pesky Panthers kind of the week's best bet? Possibly.
Where did their defense rank last year? It was
okay pass defense, but it had like the worst run defense in the entire NFL. I'm almost certain. I mean, it was ugly stuff. So it ranked bad. It was very bad, I believe, but it wasn't like the absolute bottom tank.
Okay. It will be this year, probably, without Burns.
Without Burns, I mean,
it's going to be really bad, right? Like, maybe Horn stays healthy enough that it can kind of offset. But man,
yeah, man. I mean, like, you got to really believe that Clowney is going to produce, or you think their pass rush is going to be like a total disaster. And Clowney just doesn't have like a great track record of high level production. I know he's coming off a good year, but and I'm open to him having a good season again, but I'm not super high on their pass rush. Their defensive line, I don't think, is any better. Obviously, Derek Brown is a monster, but you look at that 100 tackle number and it's like, man, how did that even happen? You know, like, what is exactly going on? I think their linebacker play, like, I'm really worried about, because not only did they lose Luvu, I know they got the guy from Denver whose name is
Josie Jewell,
and he's
fine. He's fine.
But Shaq Thompson is also coming off a major injury. He's coming off a major knee injury. I forget exactly what he did now that I bring it up. And he's starting to get up there. I'm interested to see how he returns. He's been with the team for a long time. But like if he takes a little bit of a step back, the entire front seven is just looking like kind of weak. And then I'm not like super stoked on their cornerback situation still outside of Horn. And I have little faith that Horn is going to stay healthy for a full year. He could, obviously. And maybe he's due to stay healthy, actually. But I don't know, man. I just think their defense was bad last year. It's probably going to be bad this year. Maybe it can be like, maybe it can like avoid regressing and being like the worst defense in the NFL. But this is a spunky 5-1 team.
Yeah, I still think this team is going to be picking in the top 5 of the draft, but they can do that, and Bryce can still be way better is the thing. Like, as long as they don't have like one of the 10 worst passing seasons of all time or whatever, like there's a lot of just normal bad teams that weren't the Panthers. Like the Panthers last year were one of the most dysfunctional, horrific, disappointing teams of all time, I would say. Right? Like,
they stunk, man.
Yeah, they were unusually they were a bad team, and I think next year they can be like just a normal bad team, like I don't know who had the like 4th overall pick in the draft this year.
Maybe like the Cardinals or the Titans or something.
The Cardinals, right?
The Cardinals.
Yeah, maybe they can be like Cardinals level.
Let's go,
dude. Or something.
The Panthers have to have like the easiest schedule in the NFL too, right? I mean, it's got to be up there. Maybe another NFC, because like the NFC South gets to play the NFC South, and they play the AFC West, which is like 3 not super.
They have the easiest schedule according to FTN Fantasy. It's the easiest schedule.
There you go.
Let's go.
And the like Panthers, they're gonna beat every bad team. You know, not everyone does, but the Panthers will.
No, and here's the thing: I'm not falling into the trap of like, well, we're gonna beat the Raiders. Duh, they're not good, and we're good. Atlanta, we'll probably get both of those. You know, Atlanta's not that good. It's like, yeah, I'm not falling into that nonsense. But
what is their schedule specifically?
Okay,
it's New Orleans, Chargers, Raiders, Bengals, Bears, Falcons, Commanders, Broncos, Saints, Giants, Chiefs, Buccaneers, Philly, Dallas, Cardinals, Buccaneers, Falcons. So the first half is very easy, but then after the bye, it gets tough.
That's brutal. So you start off like 10-0.
It's not easy. You're going to be like the 11-0 Steelers that like.
Mahomes and the Chiefs are coasting by week 12. Baker regression because no more Canales. Eagles bad vibes. Dallas bad vibes.
Yeah, we've been over that.
I just don't see a loss.
Arizona might get them. Kansas City might get them. But that's probably 15-2 seems pretty reasonable.
15-2, reasonable.
I like Bo Nix. I'm worried about Denver, but
maybe
no,
maybe when they're 9-0, the Giants become a trap game in Germany.
Yes,
So maybe
6:30 a.m. Yep.
Yeah.
Is that
They're
their most
coasting.
expensive game on the schedule? It looks like. No, it's the Raiders game. The Raiders game is the most expensive game on the schedule.
Wow. Most expensive game on their schedule. I've never heard anything.
As far as tickets go,
it's like
the cheapest game I think is
like all of the
$25
home
or
games.
$23.
I'm looking
Saints
at 15 for that
what?
December 22nd.
Oh
Where
my
else
god!
would you rather be than watching the Panthers play the Cardinals at Bank of America?
You don't want to suspend Christmas watching this
I'm gonna
Oh
go
my
with the
god!
family, man.
Do you
Analysis
want
versus
week
Jonathan Gannon chess
week
match.
2 preseason? Week 2 preseason $5.
Hell yeah.
No way!
That makes
no
sense.
way you're making a profit on that, man.
It's a preseason
But-
game. That one I get.
And when you get
Yeah, but I have them last in this division again.
Yeah, I think so too.
So do I. Understandable. Well, do you want to move to the team that probably has the highest expectations coming into this year, the Atlanta Falcons, with the addition, of course, of Kirk Cousins and Raheem Morris as their new head coach? How good is this team really going to be? Theo, I'm going to throw to you first.
I mean, I don't think they're as good as like Vegas thinks they are. And when I see them as the favorites in this division, and they have like almost the same odds as Miami to win the Super Bowl, and they have higher odds than like Chicago, I just cannot fathom why people have those kinds of expectations for the Falcons. But where they rank in this division is a very different conversation than Super Bowls and
Right.
I've seen the light with
big
this.
playoff wins. You know,
They're
like
gonna win the division.
I like their passing game. I had to. I was looking for reasons that they're overrated, and they are in that sense. But when it comes to this division, I do really like their passing game because guess what? I still believe in Kyle Pitts. I believe in Bijan Robinson. I believe in Drake London even. I think that Rondale Moore and Darnell Mooney probably can give them more than Van Jefferson last year. And then I think even if Robinson isn't at his peak as a first-year play caller, he'll probably maximize the talent more than Arthur Smith did. I want to start by talking about Pitts. The breakout can still happen. Are you with me?
Bernie Bros,
I mean,
this is how
up
we spoke.
until I feel
Speaking
like
of that can still happen too.
well, most tight ends typically take a while to break out. Pitts was just such a freak that everyone expected him to like jump out of his shell right away. But then also the quarterback play was just so bad, except for
Pitts,
last year. It was perfect last year.
We can just call a spade a spade. Their quarterback play was really bad last year, man. Like among the worst in the NFL, barring like Zach Wilson and shit. Ritter's not that bad. Ritter's a backup at least. He's a top 60 quarterback at least. But yeah, he's not good.
yes, Pitts has had horrific quarterback play, and last year really was a bounce back year for him in some ways compared to where he was in 2022. Like I get that it wasn't a full breakout like everybody wanted, but he definitely got back on track compared to 2022. His success rate went from 42% to 52%. His yards per target went from 6 to 7.4. So, you know, he didn't have a ton of touchdowns, but he did have 667 yards, which is not nothing for a tight end in a passing offense that didn't pass that much. They were the run heaviest team in the league pretty much, and had bad quarterback play. So the fact that he was able to put together a competent season means to me like he's back on track. And I was looking through their straight drop back numbers, which they had the second least of in the league. His numbers on those concepts were actually quite good. I think he had like 0.29 EPA per target or route per target, I think, which is extremely good to be at. So when he's actually allowed to kind of be that big wide receiver and not just like a huge decoy, he was actually productive on these actual concepts, but those concepts were just few and far between for this Falcons team last year. So I think like he poised to break out as far as I can see. Drake London as well. I think the same applies to him. And then I think they could have used Bijan is like all of those things should happen. Like no doubt. Like it's clear Arthur Smith was not using them to the best of their abilities. And the combined potential of the three of them, it reminds me a little bit of like when we were, it's like a quarterback, like the combined potential of the three of them being misused. If they all kind of fall into place, that can be huge. It can be like when Lamar got Todd Monken or something like that. If you can actually utilize this skill position room at any kind of high rate, like there's so much potential there.
Yeah, I just compare them to the way that I was looking at it. I compare them to the Buccaneers, and I'm like, okay, coming off an Achilles injury, sure. Let's assume that Kirk for a second is going to be like good again. What exactly do I love Tampa Bay over them for? I think that the Falcons' offensive line is better. I think their run game is better. I think their weapons probably about equal.
Yeah, I might lean. Mike Evans and Godwin are still really good.
I think I'd rather have London and Pitts and Bijan.
I agree.
It's close.
I agree. And age is a big thing as well.
And they're younger. Yeah. And then defensively, it's like, I'm kind of also assuming that like the Falcons defense is going to regress for no reason because I guess I don't love how it looks on paper, but really, I mean, like the run defense was successful last year.
Yep.
And they have some guys in the secondary. They do.
Yeah, they do.
They could be a fine defense. And honestly, their ceiling as an offense is really, really pretty high. It is. Like it's incredibly high. I know that we are upset that they didn't grab like a more serious number 2 receiver. Like that's the one piece that's missing where it's like, yeah, they're good, but they're like Mooney is more of a name because he had 1,000 yards at one time.
And then he
is,
cooked
actually,
Jalen Ramsey that one time.
Yeah, that's true.
But even that is like, how big of it, like Mooney can still play, somewhat. And like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think the Buccaneers had a good year last year. I know they were a couple of plays away from the NFC Championship game, and they deserve credit for that. But I'm a 9-8 team. They played the Eagles in the playoffs. Like I'm not going to do the whole like, well, they won last year crap. And I think the Falcons are going to take a big jump with some better quarterback play. It's a risk. Maybe Cousins comes back and looks rough, but we've seen guys come back from Achilles pretty frequently. Yeah, he's a quarterback who doesn't move around a ton already. So I'm going with the Falcons to win the division.
Yeah, there's some more stuff. Yeah. I like their offensive line as well, Matt. I know you mentioned that, but their offensive line is in a place where they can handle a higher drop back rate as well. I feel like their offensive line is honestly a little overrated as a run blocking unit. I feel like and I think that their running scheme is going to have to kind of remain the same because it's built a certain way. Like you don't want Chris Lindstrom pinning people down at the line of scrimmage as much as you want him like moving laterally or moving to the second level. And I think that's true for like all of their offensive linemen. Like you're going to want to continue like running zone instead of trying to go straight downhill, but a little bit more of that helped the running game. Like so many Arthur Smith games last year were so predictable. Like no one pulls, they hardly try to attack the A gaps at all. Just like set a strong edge and you're pretty much good. I think the offensive line is still kind of built to play like that, but it doesn't mean there can't be a little bit more variety. And as pass protectors, they're all like pretty good. Maybe they're all like second tier pass protectors instead of first tier, especially the tackles who've been around like forever at this point and have never like taken that jump. But yeah, it's a good enough offensive line. So really the whole offense has the pieces to be good, but I am still very concerned about the defense. I understand that the secondary has some nice pieces. Clark Phillips played all right last year, but like the corner depth is pretty atrocious. There's a real shot that like Kevin King has a real path to playing time for this defense in 2024. And they said like, oh, we would have loved to have added a corner in the draft. That just didn't play out that way. And it's like, well, it could have. It could have played out that way. But instead they want to get Penix, which doesn't really help them this year. They lost Bud Dupree. They lost Calais Campbell, who aren't crazy players, but they were their best. They were their best pass rushers last year. And I like Ruka Rororo, but he's a project. And I like Dorless. They have a bunch of rookies up there, but man, their front seven is amongst the worst in the entire league right now. And their secondary has some good players, but it's not deep at all. And they were a good run defense last year, but their schedule.
Campbell leaving, it's like it should get weaker. Well, the thing is like if we're comping them to the Buccaneers, like I think the Buccaneers were weak too. I mean, again, like they had like a laughably bad run game. I know that they're the team that ended up with 9 wins, but I think the quarterback upgrade cannot be understated for the Falcons. I agree that they're not like, I'm not high on Atlanta as like a super serious playoff team, but I think they're probably going to run a weak schedule out of the building. I do. With some games, I think that offense is going to be pretty high powered.
Yeah, I'm on board enough with the offense that I can start to overlook some of the defensive issues, but I really do think their defense can take a substantial step back from last year when they had a very easy schedule, and they still do is the thing, but it's
I will say if you're comparing the Bucs' best defensive players to the Falcons' best defensive players, the Bucs probably win that. Like Vea, David, and Winfield is a pretty good big three that the Falcons just don't have. But the Falcons do have Bates, and he's great. And maybe one of these years, AJ Terrell will start having the success rate pile up from his being in good position reps. His success rate in PFF grade will finally line up. I don't know. This is definitely the hardest pick for me, like Falcons and Bucs, but I'm gonna trust. I think my whole thing this offseason has been I would rather have Baker going into next year than Kirk Cousins. I do worry, like him coming off an injury. How is he going to handle pressure now? And then how is he going to be throwing to a receiver not named Justin Jefferson? I do like Drake London. I do like Kyle Pitts, but Jefferson's the best receiver in the NFL and has been for quite some time. And he's taken a huge step back, both in terms of, what he's going to be capable of and then who he's going to be throwing to. So I do still think I lean Tampa because I think I trust their quarterback play a little bit more. And I think their defense will probably be better.
I can't add that even a little bit. I completely disagree. Baker trust as the backing for why Tampa's better. Baker is one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks in the entire NFL, undoubtedly.
Maybe. But hey, everyone, there's nothing like spending a summer day at the ballpark, right? I mean, one of my favorite memories is seeing my very first Grand Slam at a Reds game last summer. And this year, I'm excited to make even more memories. And I found the perfect way to do it with an app called Game Time. Did you know that Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball? It makes getting tickets faster and easier than ever. And the best part, prices on Game Time actually go down as it gets closer to the first pitch. How awesome is that? And I've been browsing the Game Time app, and there are some incredible deals on upcoming MLB games. For instance, I saw a great deal on tickets for the Yankees versus Red Sox game next weekend. The process is so simple, just a few taps and you're in. One of my favorite features is the views from your seat option. You can see exactly where you'll be sitting before you buy. Plus, Game Time offers killer last-minute deals, all in prices with no hidden fees and a lowest price guarantee. They even have event cancellation and job loss protection, which is huge for peace of mind. If you're a last minute planner like me, you'll love the flash deals and zone deals where you can save up to 60% on tickets, and the all-in pricing is a game changer. You see the total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code BLAIDENK, BLAIDENK, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code BLAIDENK for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
If we want to get into the Buccaneers, I do think the defense is the reason to take the Bucs. Like you said, Blaiden, they've got stars at all three levels: linebacker, secondary, front four. The Falcons only have some secondary pieces, and their overall secondary is still like kind of an unknown. But the more you look at the Buccaneers defense, I guess the edge rushing situation is something to be a little bit concerned about. Yaya Diaby and Joe Troy.
A little bit worried about. Yeah. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's among, okay, name the worst edge rushing units. It's awful, man. And this defense wasn't good last year. It wasn't good. They won 9 games in the NFC South, man. I understand that they're coming out as the champions here, but like I can't agree at all with just like crowning them because like Falcons. Like I've completely changed my tune on this, man. Judging the Bucs off what they are right now instead of the 9 wins they have, like, yeah, they're in play, yeah, 1-score games or whatever. I don't think their defense is that good. I don't think their offense is that good either. They weren't last year, and I don't really have any reason to believe that they're going to get substantially better. And if I was really crazy, I'd wonder if Baker could repeat what he did last season with a lot of the third down stuff that he did, and now without Canales. That to me seems like if a brain drain right there could possibly affect them.
It's not impossible, but I also think that there's some things about Canales that were bad last year, which I kind of detailed in the Panthers thing. I do think their rushing offense could take a significant leap because they added Grant Barton, who's one of the best run blockers I've ever scouted. And I think that it is possible to be more creative in the run game than they were. So, and they added Bucky Irving. You like Bucky Irving, Matt, don't you? I know you like Bucky Irving.
That's true. That's true. I'll give you the Bucky Irving.
So I guess that would be the biggest avenue for them to get better is if their running game would stop being so unbelievably bad. But at the same time, like I'm looking at the almanac now, and their DVOA rank on first down was 25th, on second down it was 29th, and on third down it was first. Yep. Which is typically something that regresses.
That will keep up. No, it will keep up. They're winning 11 games this year.
I could see the first and second down thing getting better because of the running game stuff, but I can't see that third down thing getting better at all. Like the best offense in the league on third down. This was a famous thing with Wentz a few years ago. When
I was about to say Carson Wentz Eagles. I have a whole spreadsheet detail. Like Carson Wentz was like 60%, 70% success rate on third down. It's stupid.
Third down, right? And that was Baker last year. And Baker's the most inconsistent quarterback anyway. So I'm not a Baker fan, right? I don't think that he can keep it up, but I do think that Buccaneers can get significantly more balanced. And I think their defense, like they've got some young players that I think are promising enough around the stars where it's like I could see them being pretty good. Like I like Izzy, and Yaya Diaby is a decent piece along the defensive line. I like Kancey a lot. I like Kancey was legitimately very good last year. Like he was great against the run, which I did not think he would be, but he was. And if he is on the field for a whole season instead of like Logan Hall, who might be the worst defensive tackle in football, like I could see that being a significant improvement as well. Overall, I have no idea if this team is going to get better or worse. Like, I find this group so hard to project because I don't believe in Baker being quite as good, but I do believe in the running game being better.
You gotta rub your eyes, reopen them, and realize that this is the middest roster ever put together in the history of the sport.
Well, so is the Saints, and so is the Falcons. Like,
I'll give you the Saints.
So is the Panthers. Like, it's the middest roster in the history of the sport. Sure,
this is
the middest division in the history of the sport.
Let me ask you guys this: if we did an NFC South All-Star team, and you put it in any other division in the NFL, do you think they'd be able to win it?
Yes.
Oh yeah, an NFC All-Star team.
NFC South All-Star team. Their best quarterback would be like either Baker or Carr. I think still.
I mean, I don't think that he's a tier below Baker and Kirk at this point.
Fair. I guess that's fair. The offensive line would be quite good.
They'd have Wirfs. They'd have a good receiving room. They'd have Wirfs.
They'd be mega stacked. They'd have the best offensive line in the NFL. They'd have Bijan and like ridiculous weapons. And defensively, I mean, they'd be pretty darn good there too, man. It's 4 teams.
Yeah, really any combination of any division would.
Well, I was wondering. I was like, well, who's going to be their linebackers? But they'd have Demario Davis.
It don't matter either.
They'd be
they'd have Demario Davis and Levante David. Position. Yeah, they would be great. Okay, never mind.
I like the vision. Here's the thing. I'm going to bat for the Falcons a little bit more than I like actually believe in them. You know, this is like I think they'll win like 10 games and the Bucs will win like 8, or they'll win like 9 and the Bucs will win like 8. But I'm taking my flag here that I'm kind of low on the Buccaneers. I think their defense is not actually good, and I think the best thing about their offense is hard to repeat. They do have good receivers, but a lot of their best players are also getting a little bit older. Mm-hmm. I worry if maybe that could catch up with them. Although you make good points about the Falcons defense and about how they probably won't repeat. But this is a mid-off, right?
Oh yeah. I get selling the Buccaneers. I don't really, like I said, I have no idea if they're going to get better or worse. I'm kind of punting on that, I guess, but like I don't think that Baker is going to take another step. I'll say that. Whereas I just don't know if I think that's true.
I just don't think Baker's going to take a step back, right? Because I feel like a lot of times when he has, there's been like some major change that's gone on, and things
like an offensive coordinator change.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah,
but here's and this is the problem is like if he should actually still be good anyway. The reason why he keeps changing teams is because he's bad and can't stay on one team. Mm-hmm. It's the other way around. You know how like teams that are winning run more, and then the stats come out and they're like, teams that run 30 times a game win 80% of the time, and then like some like idiot coach is like, we have to run 30 times a game, and we'll win at least 12, and then they make that their focus. It's like, dude, I don't think that's how it works. I feel the same way about Baker. He's gotten a little unlucky with some stuff for sure.
Yeah,
and I don't think he's like going to be a disaster. But I don't think he's going to be as good as he was last year. I don't think he's going to repeat.
I mean, if he were still in Cleveland, I think the Browns quarterback situation would be miles ahead of where it is now.
Well, that's not saying much.
Because you're paying one guy $1 million in his ass. I think literally any other quarterback in the entire NFL would be better.
Right.
You would rather have Zach Wilson going into next year.
No, I would not.
Your quarterback situation would be better. Your quarterback situation would be better if it was just Jameis. Like,
yeah. Yes, it would. But I disagree with Zach. I would not want Zach Wilson, man. Watson is better than Zach Wilson. Not $200 million better, but he is better.
I'm hoping on a Rachaad White mega breakout this year. I'll say that. I'm hoping with Barton.
I love Rachaad White.
in
I
front of
didn't
him.
have. I do like the Barton pick, but I'm afraid that there's somebody on that depth chart who's just gonna be
Chase Edmonds,
clawing
man.
touches away from him. Come on,
Rashad
Chase
White was
Edmonds.
so good receiving last year. Like he was so amazing out of
And it's
like
time for
catching
him to pass
passes
the
over the
torch.
backfield.
Nothing but respect for
And
one
now
of the
he-
game's legends, but it's Bucky Irving era in Tampa now.
Now his vision has improved. He's getting such a good run blocker. It's Rashad White's season. I will be drafting him.
Bad timing. And I think Rachaad White is like becoming a better player. I do, but it's going to have to be somewhere else where he breaks out because Tampa is Bucky Irving.
The Panthers?
Hey,
I don't know.
The Packers?
They added Sterling Shepard this offseason. I didn't realize that.
hold on. I should have brought up that the Falcons have Austin Mack on their man as a receiver. By the way, I was looking at their depth chart. Shout out!
Oh
Austin
my
Mack.
God. Buckeye legend, Austin
I didn't even
Mack.
realize that he was. I didn't even realize he was still going.
I don't know
for
who
it, man.
that is.
He was a receiver in the JT Barrett era before every Ohio State receiver was like totally ridiculous. And he has one highlight play where he gets like lit up worse than any receiver ever and still hangs on.
That was
this was
not a
ages
JT
ago.
Barrett throw though. That was a Haskins throw.
Was it Haskins?
Yes, it was.
Shout out.
We should move on to the Saints. Why are we not considering them as a potential champion for this division? They've got Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara. They've got Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. They have Jamal Williams.
Count the good players on offense.
11,
I mean-
man.
Notice the only one is a Buckeye. Now hold on.
I mean, the Saints, I do think that we've kind of discounted the Saints here. Like, oh, it's between the Falcons and the Buccaneers, and that's it. Like, I could see the Saints being randomly fine. I mean, if the Packers didn't beat the Bears week 18 last year, the Saints are a playoff team last season.
True.
However, they are very old, and their tackles are horrifically bad.
Did they
And-
get better?
Did they get better? Is a very decent question.
Like this team sucked last year. This team won 7 games in the worst division last year, and like I'm pretty sure they're worse. Maybe they're the same. Like I see the vision defensively. They could be pretty good. They were pretty good last year. They could be pretty good again. You know, Granderson I know kind of broke out, and that sort of saves their defensive line a little bit from being like, okay, is there anybody who's okay? No, all right, but and the back of their defense is really really good, right? Performed fantastically, but offensively, I mean, like this team stunk last year, and it's the exact same thing essentially. Like it's not any better at all, really. I know Fuaga is there now, but
they still have Penning as a starter. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
They still have Penning as a starter. Their offensive line, I don't expect much from. Kamara, I mean, Kamara has not really been like an efficient runner in years now. And he is like the number one. I don't want to hate on him too much, but like, okay, you want to know what restructuring until the end of time does? It's Alvin Kamara at like 30 years old. He just has to be a running back because you're paying him an insane amount. And he's probably going to be next year too. I haven't looked at his contract, but it's insane. So I'm just out on their offense. I really am. With the Buccaneers, it's like, okay, maybe Baker just doesn't regress.
I do like this defense a decent amount, even though it's old. Granderson, like you mentioned, Matt, really broke out last year. He's one of the more underrated players in football. Brian Brzee flashed enough that I'm even more excited about him in year 2. Like he's got a good pass rushing skill set and held up better than I thought he would against the run. They added Chase Young, who is still a positive starter, even though he's not the superstar that he was billed as coming out of the draft. Demario Davis, still incredible, had an amazing year last year. They added Willie Gay from the Chiefs. They added Kool-Aid McKinstry to their secondary. It's not a bad defense, and it could be the best defense in this division.
It was last
And if
year.
all the offenses ended, it was last year. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it could be again. And then, like, if all the offenses are mid, like maybe the Saints can just hang around like they have. So I'm not out on the Saints entirely, but even though they added
Their offense is
they're-
so bad. Here's the problem. Do you know where the Saints defense ranked last year?
probably like
EPA per play?
fifth. Because they're
It was fifth.
yeah.
They
okay.
ranked fifth. Where did they rank in success rate? Third. Where did they rank in the division? Not
Second?
first. I think so. I honestly don't know.
It was second.
Dude, like, they still sucked last year because their offense is so bad. It's like, are we projecting them to have, the best defense in the NFL, and that's their path? I mean, it's really good. Don't get me wrong. Like, Kool-Aid McKinstry, we were super high on. That doesn't change just because he went to, in my opinion, an evil organization.
They did change their offensive coordinator. That would be a reason to get excited. Maybe they'll get the Shanahan boost hiring someone from that tree. But Clint Kubiak has not always had success at his previous stops. Like, he was with the Vikings when his dad was there. The Viking fans in my life complain about how the play calling dropped off once he got control. So maybe they can get some sort of Shanahan scheme boost as to Pete Carmichael still being there for his 18th year and treating Derek Carr like he's Drew Brees. That would have to be the path. But yeah, their offensive line is looking a little cooked, and they still, like, Olave is not. They don't really have the yak guys that you'd like for a Shanahan scheme. Like, maybe the scheme can help improve that, but like, Olave doesn't really break tackles, I'd say, and I don't know.
I will say this:
Their quarterback room is awesome.
The Saints had the highest success rate on offense in the division last year, and they ranked 17th in the league, and they were just barely behind Tampa Bay in total offensive EPA. So, like, they were right there, and that's, I guess that is kind of the thing, is maybe we shouldn't totally count them out. But like you said, Matt, did they get better on offense? Probably not.
Maybe with the play calling. Play calling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they did finish second. I forgot that they were 9-8. For some reason, I thought they won 7 games last year.
No, they had a chance. I mean, they had a chance. I don't think they're going to completely fall off the face of the earth, although with how old they are, it's always a concern.
Yeah.
I think that this is a 3-car pileup at the top again, and I just don't know exactly how it shakes out. But it is tough to put too much faith in the Saints offense. Like, it really is. The fact that Ramczyk is probably not going to be healthy again.
Derek Carr career year, and Chris Olave goes for 1,500. A.T. Perry has a breakout season. Jamal Williams finally Bob Means, man. It's gonna come together. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I guess I was discounting them a little bit.
3 9-8
I don't
teams
feel strong.
is gonna feed families.
I'll go this far. I think the Bucks finish third.
Okay.
I think it's Falcons, Saints, Bucks, Panthers. That's my current feeling. The Saints defense, every time I remember that they've added Kool-Aid McKinstry, it's like, dude, those cornerbacks are awesome.
Yeah, they're
gonna have a great corner room. Their linebackers are really good. And the fact that their defensive line is not a disaster like it was kind of supposed to be. I mean, like, yeah, it gives them a really, really good defense. Where did we have them? I think I probably had them at like 8 on the defense rankings.
I don't think we ranked them high enough.
We didn't even rank them at all. Maybe.
Let me.
I do think part of their defensive six. I didn't rank them in the top 10 because
part of it
part of it is the division that they play in. Like, they ranked third, they ranked fifth in all these advanced analytics, and they probably will rank very high again. But I thought their core was kind of enjoying the same boost that, like, the Falcons got in their run defense rating. That it's a lot to do. Any metric that, like, penalizes you for playing, like, softball teams would have the Falcons and the Saints defense a little bit lower than EPA. So
we did not have the Saints in our top 10 consensus.
Yeah, they probably should have been in there. But that's a good point about them playing weak defenses.
I don't know who I would have put them over. I'm looking at the 10 here, and it's Jets, Browns, Ravens, Chiefs, Cowboys, Steelers, Niners. Maybe the Niners are a team we could have been, but they have so many.
I think it's fine not to put them in the top 10. Like, I really do. Like, Marshall Lattimore is in his 30s.
I think the top 3 teams win between 7 and maybe 10 games. Maybe one of them finds a way to get that double-digit mark. And the Panthers are ass. And honestly, it could be any of those 3. We know how the one-score cheese is. And the Saints were particularly unlucky with one-score games, I believe. I could be wrong about that. But I think most of their losses were close games, although it's also possible that a lot of their wins were as well.
Yeah. And I will say about their offensive line, as we kind of make our concessions here about the Saints, it's a better run blocking offensive line than
that's true.
A pass blocking offensive line by a lot. Fuaga could be a money run blocker. Like, he gets out of moves so well. Like, he's a big punisher down the field. And then Penning as well. Far better. Yeah. Far better run blocker than the pass protector. So maybe the take should be Kamara rekindles his old form after 6 years of being mid.
Or maybe Kamara drops out of the race and Jamal Williams takes over and
yeah.
They should have. Damn, I wish they had drafted a running back so I could push like that. I liked so I could push some serious narrative.
They had
Kendra Miller. Here we go. Get the Kendra Miller.
I'm not saying if Derek Carr could get benched so we can see a Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler battle.
Oh my God.
You have to put them at first. I'd have no choice.
Who do you think would win that?
Rattler.
Haener.
I have to say.
I think Haener.
Matt does have to say Rattler. He's required by law.
I think most people would say Rattler. I don't know. Maybe Haener was being propped up by his PEDs, but I liked Rattler a little bit more as a prospect.
Are you saying Haener? You just watch and steal Rico No videos, bro. We're not fooled.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he looks good on camera, and that's what people care about most. So.
Okay.
So I guess for my overall rankings for this division, you need to replace some of the playoff teams that were there last year. What's the streak? Like, there's been 20 years in a row where at least 4 of them get swapped out. The Buccaneers do seem like a potential swap out team.
Maybe.
Let me go Saints, Bucks, Falcons, Panthers.
And Matt, you're going to go
Falcons. I'm going to go Falcons. I'm going to go Saints. I'm going to stick with that. Fair enough. And I'll even say that I was underrating their chance to win the division. I'll go Buccaneers after that. And I think all of these teams are within like a game and a half of each other. And it's like, just some garbage at the end of the year like it was last year. And then I think the Panthers are feisty and they're pesky. We won't say what number I'm putting by their name. But they're going to be crafty and scrappy. And they're going to be a tough out. They're going to be a trap game for a lot of teams.
Trap game.
That Chiefs post-bye week, Canales with multiple weeks to prepare. Andy Reid better start getting ready right now.
That's true.
That undefeated season will be blown to Carolina.
Carolina is going to be a trap game for other bad teams. They're going to be like a trap game for the Commanders.
This is like a trap game for the Cardinals.
Oh my God.
I don't see it. We can be Cardinals and Washington level. We're not a bad team compared to Washington, and I stand on that. Yeah.
I would. Yeah. We're not Washington bad. We're not the Raiders.
No, we are Washington bad.
You are Washington bad. You're not worse than Washington bad maybe this year, but like I said, there'll be a normal level top 5 draft pick team, not like a historically bad top 5 draft pick team. Part of that is because they didn't have their top 5 draft pick, which made them such a horrific disappointment.
That is true.
Like, even if they get the number 1 overall pick, they'll be like far better than they were last year because the expectations are
I
actually
could
low
see
now.
that. I could see them getting the first overall pick, and then it's like, yeah, nobody's worth the first overall pick this year. Sorry.
Carson Beck is walking through those doors.
Yep, and then we're gonna see Bryce Young or Carson Beck debates. That's gonna be awesome, man.
No, we're gonna see the debates we're gonna be happening is Bryce Young worth a 5th or a 6th round pick? If they get an overall pick.
I don't think he's gonna be. How good do you think he's gonna be?
I think he's going to have 20 touchdowns.
Let's go.
And
I remember I was talking to Panthers fans last year, and they were like, "Well, he's gonna have like 3,500 yards, like 30 touchdowns." It's like
I think he can get to 20 touchdowns, and I think they can win.
My team is so ass, bro.
That's what Baker got last year.
They put
and
in.
I think he can avoid
every
interceptions. So maybe like a good 20 and 10, 3,400 yard season.
Oh, let's go.
Maybe 3,300.
Oh,
I will say that Bryce Young, he will have a better season than he'll have a better season than he'll have a better season than both Geno and Herbert did last year.
No, fuck no. Better season than Geno?
Last year?
What is the opposite of the loud incorrect? Whether like the like
Geno Smith last year had 20 touchdowns, 9 picks, and 3,600 yards.
Dude, I don't.
And do you know why he will? It's because he is better than both of those guys. This is true. Plug your ears if you're on film Twitter or whatever. He's better.
He is. That's what they're saying.
Geno, if he has a better season than Geno Smith did last year, it will probably be the biggest jump in play in the history of quarterbacking.
Okay,
let's go.
All right.
No.
That's what you're projecting.
What about
like
Jalen Hurts, man? What about Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, that would be an even bigger jump.
No shot.
Like he would need it. Yes, dude. What are you talking about? Jalen Hurts. It would seriously be. Jalen Hurts probably had a pass. Where did the Eagles' pass offense rank last year? Like 5th. Like if he gets Jalen Hurts level, that will seriously be the biggest jump in history by far. I mean,
no, I'm saying the Jalen Hurts jump.
Oh.
From 2021 to 2022.
I mean, you think Bryce Young is going to have that type of jump? I think it would even be bigger than that.
My headphones died. All right. Well, anyway, my list for the NFC South. This is crazy because I'm now thinking like maybe I'm wrong, but I'm gonna stick to the Bucs at 1, the Falcons at 2, the Saints at 3, and the Panthers to be scrappy, of course.
To be feisty, to be spunky. They're gonna have a lot of moxie.
You know, they're gonna want it more than a lot of teams.
I like this though. I have the Saints. Blaiden has the Bucs. Matt has the Falcons. We each have a different division winner. That's rare. Maybe we should put $5 on it. Whoever wins,
$5 on it.
The winner gets 15.
Virtual handshake here.
Virtual handshake. Blaiden thinks Baker won't regress at all.
Right.
Matt thinks the Falcons offense will be too good. I think the Falcons defense will be too bad.
Yeah, I'm worried that I'm discounting them too much because I'm worried about the Achilles, which could like immediately you get back like, oh man, but I think the other way could happen. Maybe that's more of a gamble than the Saints, but I'm sticking with it.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's such a crazy gamble. I do like their offense a lot. I just think their defense is like going to be a major problem. But maybe I should bet on offense over defense. That's like probably the smart thing to do. But I like doing the fake woke thing. So here we are with the Saints.
It is fake woke, unfortunately.
You're just a real man. You value defense and.
Remember when in the last game of the season when the Saints like went rogue and got Jamal Williams that touchdown and like Arthur Smith like freaked the fuck out. on Dennis Allen. How will this affect the 2024 season, vibes-wise?
That's true.
I think it'll give the Saints a new identity in a positive way. Like, they're the team that will scratch and claw.
They did hammer the Falcons.
They did.
The Falcons were out of it at that point, correct?
No, that was because if the Bucs lost, I think that was for the division.
If the Bucs lost and the Falcons won, would they have won the division, or would either of them had taken it?
I think if the Bucs lost, the winner of that game took the NFC South. But and the Saints destroyed the Falcons, but at the same time, like, Ritter was the starter, and he eventually got benched for, I think, like, Logan Woodside. So how comparable will it be to the 2024 Falcons?
Mind you, Goat Ritter had like 300 yards on 30 pass attempts and 2 tutties. He had it, 2 tugs. He had a yip. Not on him, though.
Not his fault.
I honestly, I don't remember the play at all. But
maybe that'll be the thumbnail. It'll be a picture of Ritter and it says "not his fault."
We gotta pick like more clickable players, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Whoa! What's wrong with the players I've been using?
No, I'm just saying. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know what player you used for the last thumbnail.
The last one was Richardson and Stroud.
Right. Ritter would be on like the wrong side of clickable.
The one before that was Daniel Jones. There was give up. Then there was TJ Watt.
I would maybe go Kirk Cousins here, possibly. Maybe you could go Bryce Young since we get into the Panthers. Definitely go quarterback. Anything else is boring.
I'm trying to think of a thumbnail that would be like related to Joe Biden dropping out of the election, but I can't think of anything.
Just don't do anybody from the Saints, man, and we'll be okay. Just do not do any. No Saints player has clickable energy.
So no Derek Carr.
NFC South 2024 preview, and it's a picture of Desmond Ritter.
Anyway.
Oh man, I saw. Who did I say? I think I saw Kofi say that the Milwaukee Bucks just gave Joe Biden a 3-year, $45 million contract.
He'll be an NBA coach soon. They always want the retread.
Well, I was like, he'd be the youngest player on that team, probably.
Giannis isn't quite 82 yet.
Not yet. He's still got a few more years in him. But, hey, that's the NFC South preview. Let us know in the comments if you hate us, or if you're like, oh my God, these guys are so smart. I should listen to everything they say forever. And make sure you let me know if... Oh! What did you guys think of the album? Did you listen to the album yet?
I liked it. I thought it was...
I won't lie.
I thought it was an improvement over the solo album. I thought, yeah, it was good.
My goal is
I like the intro,
to be better than the last.
Yes,
and then if you
I
make
like the intro, how
albums,
you were playing something backwards, right? But it still sounded like a structured song.
Yeah, it was the Who by Fire riff backwards.
Mm-hmm. But it was still like, it didn't just sound like a song played backwards. It still had like a melody and stuff.
Right. Yeah, and I thought that came out really cool.
Yeah, the guitar parts were catchy. Yeah, it was good.
I got a little bit of homework. I'm gonna go listen to that as I continue to unpack and organize.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. Sophia listened to it 5 times on the airplane, and her ranking of the songs, she is different for that. Her ranking of the songs, Theo, I want to know if you agree with this. 1, Rather Be With You. 2, Try to Make This Home. 3, Nothing. 4, Sail On By. 5, Cobblestones. 6, Who by Fire. 7, The Clash. 8, Pebbles. And 9, Arif Yib O. I thought The Clash should have been higher, me personally.
I liked to Try to Make This Home.
That's a good one.
That was my favorite.
Yeah. It's probably the most complete, if I had to say. But I'll be back in my regular setup here soon. The internet is really giving me some troubles, and my headphones died during this, as you can tell by me now wearing AirPods. Blaiden technical difficulties are rare, but
They are.
when they happen,
But they do happen.
When they happen, they're like the worst thing to possibly happen.
Anyway, this has been another Stay Hot podcast.
Do you want to hit the outro, Theo?
I'll catch you on the flippity flop.